We talked about Black women, being those natural community builders and rapport builders. And one of the things that I have found in coaching Black women leaders and in Black women leading in particular, that there's sometimes this line, right? So I literally can imagine the moments that I've been in a coaching session where someone is saying, in my personal life, I don't have any issues with making these connections, but something about, what at work, I can't be maybe as outgoing or reaching across. And so when we've dug below that surface, sometimes it may have been an experience where maybe some trust was violated, or a really kind of bad experience in a workspace, whether it's microaggressions or someone throwing you under the bus or whatever the case. And then we're holding on to that and going into new experiences like, you won't get me a second time, right? But at the same way that we're holding stuff, keeping up the wall to hold stuff out, it's also holding us in from people experiencing us, right?
Hmm.
So what advice would you give a woman who has maybe experienced that kind of violation of trust, but still has to put herself out there to develop relationships and do her work and accomplish her goals? What would you say is how she can navigate that or heal from that or move forward? What's your insight on that?
Man, I can totally relate to that because when I moved to Tampa, it was my first time really working in this major corporate center.
Mhm.
And the people who I thought were going to be supportive weren't. The people who I knew the most actually gave me the most pushback.
Mhm.
And that was shocking to me. It was a place where I had worked for a couple of years, but I thought that I had good relationships, and I had a reality check when I left the field and went from Chicago and came into their world. I got to see a different side of people.
Wow.
And what you described in terms of feeling disrespected, people who would schedule meetings with me and then not show up,
Wow.
or people who would reprimand me for doing what I thought was just my job and remind me to stay in my lane.
Mhm.
I really struggled with some of those relationships and even question, like, did I make a mistake? Like picking my daughter up and moving her 1,000 miles and away from all my family? Maybe I should just move back.
Yeah.
And one thing I know about Black women, we are resilient. And resilience is essential for leaders. It's essential to emotional intelligence. It requires courage, and it requires you to live with imperfection. Maybe I made a mistake in how I approached it, but I'm going to have to move beyond my feelings and realize everyone's not going to like me. And you don't have to. I have a job to do.
Yeah.
I'm an acquired taste. I'm not for everyone, but I'm going to navigate around this situation. And I was successful and able to navigate around that situation, but I couldn't just rely on um, one person. I had to find safe sounding boards, and they may not be in your organization. That's why it's good to maintain those external connections.